Hello there, and thank you for joining us here at the Lions Guide Collective. And well, what is Lions Guide? Well, Lions Guide is a growth agency for leaders. We help you lead yourself and lead others better so that you can show up confident in your ability to execute and lead. If you're interested in learning more or to access any of our free resources that we've put together for you, please go out there, check out lionsguide.com. We've got some cool ready sheets and other things, our blog and so on, and see what we're all about. And if you're interested, reach out and we'll see how we can help you. But now, here on the Collective, I'm joined by the Lions Guide team to discuss topics to help you gain new insights and perspectives. So let's jump into it. I'm your host, Dale Walls, and I'm the founder of Lions Guide. And with me, I've got Jay Teagues, who's our Performance Development Director, as well as Keith, the man, Flip Griffin, who is our Leadership Development Director. Fellas, welcome. What's good? What's been going on?
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Hey, everybody.
Crush this week.
Crushing the week, man. Ready to jump into it. So, Jay, you got your Army retired hat on. So that's
I just had a big milestone last week. I retired. I walked the stage. I'm not officially out until 28 February, but I walked the stage, had the ceremony, and my wife gave this to me as a kind of a fun joke. It adds 20 years to me. But yeah, I'm wearing my retiree hat. So I'm excited about the next chapter. Had a great opportunity. Flip took the time to come down and gave me this awesome. I got a lot of Army regalia, but he gave me this really awesome fixed wing. I don't know what I know that you call them when you need them, and they do some amazing things. Other than that, I don't know much about them. So
it's an F-18. It's okay.
It's amazing. Thank you.
I like how he put it above all the Army stuff too. Flip, you notice that? Like there's all
Just
this
saying,
Army stuff, and then up above
I
it
know where
is
it belongs. I mean, I know where it belongs. So.
No, awesome gift, and it was a fantastic week and way to cap out a big career. So I'm excited about what's coming up.
Yeah, man. No, it was awesome. It was great pictures. Sorry, I couldn't make it out there myself, man. Juggling a full load here, but it was great to see the pictures and glad Flip made it out and showed up in style too, man. It was everyone like,
he did. He cleans up well.
Yeah, man. That guy.
I don't get out much, so it's like.
Did your wife dress you? What's going on?
No, oh my God, no.
If I want to look dapper, Lacey's got to give me a hand with that
Yeah. No.
Yeah, man. So Flip, what's good with you?
Nothing. All good, man. Just trucking a lot of content, working everyday leadership, and got putting out there in kind of different formats, which has been really cool. And milestone for me was I started my master's this week, so I was pretty excited and heads down in the books again for the next year and a half. So, but that's fine. I'm excited about to get that done but otherwise just grow Lions Guide. I'm super excited as to what we have. We for that doesn't know, we did me, Jay, and Dale got together and we did a kind of an outlook for 2023, and just amazing things are going to be happening. So I'm excited for it.
Buckle up, man. Buckle up. Yeah, it's been fun. And, we kicked off the year. In the last couple of weeks, we've had our sessions rolling. The sessions have been really powerful. We've got more folks coming in next week. Actually, once we wrap up here, I got to get on a call. Someone's ready to hop in with that as well. So I'm excited, man. It's we're rolling, and it's a pleasure to serve, man. And I love like chopping it up with these various leaders and people that are looking to grow, and especially in the weekly things. And and I'll plug it a few times. That's what we're here for. Like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we have our performance and leadership development sessions respectively. So Lions Guide members can hop into either one of those and come in and check out what we got going on. So and I guess jumping into that, what are our topics this week? Jay, what's your Tuesday session looking like?
Well, we're gonna get extremely focal points, and a lot of times, as leaders, we have a lot of projects going on simultaneously in our personal life and our professional life. So, given that this is the beginning of the year, my goal for this session is to help leaders get really critically clear on what they want to accomplish for the year and for this quarter. And let's enumerate and kind of rack and stack and prioritize, what it is that we're working on. And that'll give us a level of clarity in what's important.
Yeah, it's big, right? Like, as if we're not, and the topic we'll get into today about your article that you put together on procrastination, like that's a part of it too, right? Like sometimes I kind of tell people that procrastination, fear, and I call them as triggers. Like if you're procrastinating on something, it might be because you're not quite focused as you need to be. There might not be enough clarity on where you're trying to go or what you're working on, or, whatever. So it's, it's a big topic, especially at the, beginning of the year. Like, what are your focuses? What are you trying to get done? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's an awesome session. Flip, how about you? You got Wednesday session coming up?
We do. Yeah. And we're going to, we're second kind of, we're working into this second session for the high performance leadership. We're going to really define leadership, and session is going to really dive deeper in what kind of leader you want to be. So it's a really an inflection piece, which I'm excited about. We started talking about behaviors and leadership philosophy. And so, and how that relates in the high performance world. So excited about that piece.
Yeah, man. Good. And then Friday, we've got our first rally point where we're hopping on, and we're going to dive into just a kind of a Q&A. Our sessions are structured. So we're kind of like, we've got an end in mind, whether it's our focal points or defining your leadership this week as an example. But want to get a little bit ad hoc, and give the opportunity, like if there's specific leadership or performance or whatever challenges that you're up against, that's we're going to be out there, and we're going to be going live with that on Friday. So that's going to be 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. That will be out there. You can get on lionsguide.com and register for that session and hop on there and throw it at us. What do you got? What are you up against? We'll see if we can help you figure it out, or help get some clarity, or other insights or perspective on whatever you're up against. And that's the fun part, man. That's what I love about the sessions, like falling into those topics. But we'll kind of get a little ad hoc, have a rally point, circle up and take care of that this Friday, 12:30 Eastern, 11 Central. Contact us if you're looking for it, but otherwise go to lionsguide.com. And if any of that sounds good to you, man, reach out. But let's jump into the article that Jay put together. We dropped it this week about procrastination. Procrastination will get you killed.
Yeah, it'll kill you. So this is procrastination is something that I would assume that we probably all have done in our past, or maybe we still do it, right? Or maybe someone that you work with, or you have a team member. If you're in a leadership position, maybe you have members of your team that procrastinate. That could be incredibly frustrating. So what I want to do is kind of highlight this issue. Identify, what are some of the challenges with that? What are some of the costs associated with it? Maybe give a couple strategies to help overcome that. And I'd love to hear your guys' input on this as well, and how maybe we could help a leader that maybe has an employee or teammate, or they're working on a project and they're waiting on someone else, and that person's a procrastinator. So, it comes off in a variety of different ways. And what I found was that 20% of people are chronic procrastinators. So 1 in 5 are chronic. Like, this is it's become such a routine habit. And it comes in a variety of different ways. It could be putting off things in your personal life, putting off a doctor's appointment, maybe meeting certain deadlines at work. Maybe it's finishing a report. It could be some of those household chores, around the house, just kind of turn a blind eye to or put off. For some people, it's putting off, delaying paying their taxes, or doing the books. From a business perspective, I know a lot of business leaders that have put off the financial aspect of the business because they just don't like doing the work. Maybe it's putting off a workout. So it comes in a variety of different ways. And I've also heard that people I work really good under pressure. So that's the argument for doing that, right? But I think it's a common fallacy, and it's a limiting belief, and it's costing you more than you realize. And there's an article, or not an article, but a little story, a parable from Aesop that I referenced, was the ants and the grasshopper. And just a quick summary: it's summertime. The ants are working really hard to prepare for the upcoming winter. Winter's coming, and they're harvesting the food because they need to survive the winter, and they're working as a team because they're a colony. But the grasshopper comes by, and he's like, "What are you guys doing? It's beautiful weather." He's singing and dancing. He's making fun of the ants, but the ants just kind of keep doing what they're doing. They're harvesting, preparing for winter. And the grasshopper comes by day after day, singing, dancing, making fun of them because it's beautiful out and they're working so hard. Winter's so far away. Like, why are you doing that now? But as the seasons change from summer to fall and then finally winter, the grasshopper comes to the ants shivering, hungry, and he's knocking on the ants' door like, "Hey, can you guys take me in? I need some shelter. I need some food." And the ants look at him with astonishment, like, "Dude, what have you been doing all summer? Like, where's the food you've been storing for winter? Haven't you prepared?" And the grasshopper was whining, I was so busy making music that before I knew it, summer was gone. And this is kind of where the story gets kind of dark. The ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust, making music. Well, now you can dance. And they turn their back on the grasshopper, and he's left to starve and ultimately die. So that's a children's story, by the way. That's kind of how dark they used to be back in the day to teach lessons. But the lesson is this: putting things off will kill you. And maybe that's kind of harsh, but it may not be killing you, but it is costing you in a variety of different ways. And procrastination causes higher levels of stress because you're waiting till the last minute to get critical things done. Because of that stress, people that tend to procrastinate have more frequent illnesses because of the stress. They tend to have financial complications. They tend to have strained relationships because you're aggravating everyone around you. And it ultimately impacts the efficiencies in your organization, and it's probably costing you some form of revenue. So the costs are significant. And so those were some of the talking points, or some of the things that the cost associated with procrastination.
So where do you guys stand on procrastination then? Do you catch yourself procrastinating? How do you know it when you tend to do it? How do you fix it? What does procrastination mean to you in your world?
Yeah, it's simple for me. Really simple. I will procrastinate on things that I don't want to do. And I will do everything else first. So a huge one for me is schoolwork. Now I'm in the master's program, like I talked about, and like today's going to be heads down, except for the football game. And I know that's it's kind of how I operate, and it's not, that part's not killing me. But I will tell you, and Jay, you mentioned it. I think it's the biggest thing for me. It's the stress portion, right? Mm-hmm. That's the part that I'm like, oh, I know I got to get it, and I whiteboard it up and make my boxes, and can I check off enough? And the more orange X's for me I have, the better I feel at the end of the day that I have gotten done. And I think when we come back around, I want to talk about the difference between what I looked at was prioritizing as I've grown up versus procrastination. But I think the biggest thing for anyone is stress, right? I think that's the biggest piece of it all, and how that weighs on you when you procrastinate. I know I got to get it done. I know it's still out there. It's hanging out there. It's just that, we always talk about low hanging fruit, and you try to get them done. And sometimes people need to get on a roll. Like, hey, I'm going to get one thing done and let it snowball effect up. Like, that's great too. But at the end of the day, the biggest snowball you're going to ever make is that last one that you're waiting on because you didn't want to do it right away. And that's still always going to be there. And so for me, it affects me with just not bad, but it's, damn, I know I got to get that done type of a deal. And that's that stress piece. So.
Yeah, it usually comes with some type of pain. We will naturally avoid pain and seek pleasure, and that pain comes in a variety of different ways. But once the deadline looms, and then that's where we talk about high performance, the drive for necessity. Well, that drive for necessity, because there's probably something associated with, like, if you got a paper and you're procrastinating, it's because you've got the deadline, and now it's like, okay, now it's showtime. I don't have any more time left. I need to get the grade so I can pass the course. Now I'm going to do what I got to do to get through it. And then we try to get through it. And it's usually not our best work. It's often more rushed. And, but one of the primary reasons we do that is to avoid the pain.
Yeah. And and I wanted to just kind of call out that we've been talking about here is the feeling of just getting it done versus the feeling of the eustress versus distress, right? Like when we get it done, you feel good, there's that positive feeling from it. And then there's the distress of the linger. And you're right, man. It's like, we don't want to do it because we're afraid of the pain of going through it, man. I'm a staller, man. When I catch myself stalling, I'm like, yeah. And then there's this damn thing, what a perfect little stall engine, right here in my pocket. So, but yeah, I try to call myself out on it. I catch myself stalling. I know I'm procrastinating, trying to drag my feet a little bit. But what are some things, Jay, that we could do to kind of beat procrastination?
I love how you call it stalling instead of just calling it procrastinating, because you're actually.
But I'm stalling. No, I
you're
mean,
deflecting.
I'm literally like on my way to do something. Like, look, man, I'll use a simple one, like workouts. Like right now, running, like to walk outside and run in 20-degree weather. And I know when I want my feet on that street, and man, I'll be, oh, I think I should probably go to the bathroom one more time. I don't know. Do I got enough clothes on? What's the temperature really going to be? What's it say now? I'll just catch myself stalling. But I'm talking like, because there's procrastination where you're putting something off. But then there's like, to me, it's like even the stalling is like mini procrastination. I'm like putting off, like getting going, just, I don't know. So.
Okay, I've got a list of reasons here. So let me rattle through this list and think about, as I read this list, think about yourself. And then for those listening, think about maybe members of your team, because you can identify these things and maybe you can help coach them. And that'll help us out with some of the strategies going ahead. So the first one is just forgetting. You're just forgetting. Well, that's forgetting is just really poor time management skills. You're probably not using a calendar. You're probably not taking notes. So forgetting, not wanting to do something. They just don't like the tasks that could be associated with low morale. Not knowing what needs to be done. That's lack of communication and leadership. Not knowing how to do something. That's lack of training or expertise. Not caring if it gets done or not. That's low motivation and morale. I've certainly had things where somebody was relying on me to do something. I just didn't care. Not feeling like it or just being in the mood. Once again, low morale. Habit of waiting until the last minute. That's just poor time management skills. Lacking the initiative. Low motivation, low morale. Blaming sickness or poor health. And that's just waited until the last minute. Have you ever waited till the last minute, then something happened, like you got sick, and then you maybe you missed the deadline? Waiting for the right moment, that's tied in with perfectionism. Needing time to think about the task, overanalyzing. Delaying one task in favor for working on another, prioritization. And then organizational roadblocks. So have you ever been in an organization where there's a lot of red tape and roadblocks? So you're just like, I don't even want to deal with that because of the whole myriad of things you're going to have to jump through. And then once again, believing that you just work better under pressure. That's just the bad habit of, incorporating procrastination in your life and relying on it.
Yeah, that's one of the lies you're telling yourself, right? Like it's part of your avoidance tactics, right? And you're just saying, yeah, but if I wait till last minute, I'll get it done better because I work better under pressure. Like, no, you're lying. You're lying.
So go back to procrastinate go back to prioritization.
Which one to say prioritization? It was, let's see here.
So reason why we procrastinate is because we prioritize.
We don't prioritize the right thing, or we don't do it well,
or okay. we give a higher weighted value to low priority items to avoid the higher priority.
Yeah, item. Well, I don't.
Delaying one task in favor of working on another.
Mm-hmm.
That's a skill. Like, so that's the other part I wrote about this, right? Is that when you're a leader and you're growing as a leader, learning to prioritize is one of the most important, in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do as a leader, because it avoids the distractions. It brings clarity into what you're doing. And so I could see how people could use it as a vehicle for procrastination, saying, I don't want to go handle that because there's something else that I think has to be done. And I've used it negatively myself. Like, right, when I have to do homework, my wife will know, you got homework, don't you? Yeah, how'd you know? Because the entire house is clean. You just did the garage. Like, every other thing will get done before, right? That was waiting on before to do that. But I want to call that piece out, because I just think that is not an excuse for procrastination. That is a skill set. That is a needed skill set to prioritizing things, because you can leave all the distractions behind. You can understand when things don't need your full attention for stuff. There's definitely a reason, but I can see, once you learn that, how you can also use it as an excuse for yourself to procrastinate by saying, that's just not important for me right now, right? Because sometimes that's right and sometimes that's wrong. So that's a fine line for me, and it's definitely a learned skill set to prioritization. So
that's how I created the list, and I tied like something like what is the kind of the root cause, or one of the few root causes of that. How could you address that? And that will help you also if you have a team member that is also struggling with that. Maybe you can get to the root of that and help coach them through that, because it happens to so many people. I mean,
Yeah, I think we see that all the time and I have before, where people were like, okay, why are you doing that? Well, you told us to do that first,
Yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
and I learned it the hard way when we first made Chief. They're like, we want a bar built in this Chief's mess. And so that night we stayed up all night and did that. And they were like, why did you do that? There was 20 other things to do. That wasn't going to get built for another 7 months. Why did you guys do all these plans? And we were like, that was that instantly learning about prioritization, about what was, and being able to tell people, we'll get to that when we get to that, because that's not important right now.
So. And I've been in a lot of organizations where everything was a priority, and then so you have team members working on all sorts of things, and not the main things aren't getting done. Not everything is a priority, and it is a skill. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So what can we do about it, Jay?
Yeah. Well, one thing you can do is you can come to my session on Tuesday, because that's what Focal Points is all about, helping you develop that skill and that muscle of prioritization, right? But really, I think step number one is self-awareness, right? Which of these things happens to you? Because I would suspect it probably happened to all of us. I mean, Dale, you just talked about yourself. I mean, I certainly do it. So what areas are you? And then I've got a short list of like the types of procrastinators. There's the perfectionist who puts off things due to fear of not looking perfect. The overdoer, the one that takes on too much, spends too much time, and doesn't manage their time well. There's the crisis maker, the one that believes that the work makes them, they work better under pressure. The dreamer, they put off tasks because they're not good at paying attention to detail, and they're just kind of drifting and thinking about everything else. The worrier, this is the person that puts off things due to fearing the unknown, prefers the known, would rather suffer in the known versus trying to do something that for the unknown. And then the defier, the person that just doesn't like to be told what to do, so they just put it off. And so which one of those do you tend to fall under? One strategy that I like to employ that really helps me is identifying, like, what are my top 3 projects? We only have so much bandwidth, and high performers tend to pile on so much. So what are the things that you're working on? And I like to break things down into 5. So identify my projects, and then I want to enumerate them. Try not to have more than 3 major projects at a time. So 1, 2, and 3. And then charting out the next 5 moves. Like, what are the next 5 chess moves in this particular project or task? It could be a big task. Maybe it could be a small task. It could be a big project, could be something small. But what are the next 5 moves so you can see the finish? And if we can see the finish line and see that we're making progress, it helps us just kind of stay on top of the project. And that enables us to help put up some more boundaries, because, if someone is asking you to do something else, it's like, no, I'm focused on this, and I'm touching this project on a day-to-day basis, because sometimes life happens or other commitments come up, and we kind of lose touch with what we're doing, and we end up doing a bunch of other stuff. And so just identifying the task and just charting the next 5 moves, it sounds super simple, and it is, but it's incredibly effective to keep you on task.
Yeah, no, it's freaking, I mean, it's good. And a part of big thing of what we do is just that it's awareness, right? Like, without these lists and kind of definitions and understanding, right? Like, sometimes maybe some folks out there aren't calling themselves out on it, right? Like, even like the defier piece, like when of you had like a poor leader or whatever that you just like defy, the work you need to do just to be that defier as an example. It's so what was G.I. Joe? No one's half the battle. It's like we're learning about what procrastination is, and how it shows up, and so I think it's a great topic to drag out on the carpet here, so to speak.
And one more tip, and I think it's really advancement of your to-do list, right? A lot of people are really good at just brain dumping a bunch of tasks. But the next level of that is really, taking those tasks and putting them into little buckets. And a method that I learned that's super simple that really works is the A, B, and C method. A is like your critical tasks that have to get done within the next 24 hours, or there's serious consequences. These are the things that have to get done. B is more like they need to get done. There's a sense of urgency there, more like, probably like 48, 72 hours before there's a repercussion. They will, if left unchecked, they will become an A task. And then you've got your C tasks. These are the nice to do things that they're not critical, but they need to get done, so and being able to enumerate, look, take a task, make your list. This is A1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, B1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, C1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and working that list and attaching time to it and putting that time block into your calendar. If you don't do that, then what happens is you got a paper, it's a Sunday, it's a football game, and the house is a mess. And, the no crap thing that has to get done is the paper, but we end up watching the football game, or we clean the house and the wife's commenting on how wonderful the clean the house is. And then we end up rushing at the last minute because we did CBA.
I don't clean the house, so it's not. I pick up the house all week, but deep cleaning is not. It's just we haven't. And I'm fine. I know exactly. I'm good. I think a big thing to your steps. I do Boulder. I do Big Rock, Little Rock, Pebbles. Right, same thing. ABC. I think what's really important to take from that, from people who maybe don't do any of it, right, is if you don't have a list, write your list first, right? Like make sure that you just prioritize a list, and that can be on a piece of paper and make your check boxes. And if that's your start, great, right? Your next step, and I think is to your point, is then, and this is where I think it's really important, right? And you talked about this, and I think we all know this. Almost everybody's involved. High performers are always involved in multiple things, right? And if you're, and that's just maybe in a job, right? Or in jobs or in whatever. Now add life to it. Like, so there's a schedule of kids and having to do all kinds of stuff, right? And I think why it's really important, why I take from that, Jay, what you talked about and why it's important for me is because there will be interruptions. And even if I set time aside like I would plan to, like a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old give absolutely no care about what I've written on my board or my schedule, right? And so I can only do so much. And I think why it's important is because it's actually a refocusing tool is what I use it as, right? So I can go back and go, okay, I just had the helmet fire that I put out. I just had to go and, drop something off at the school before. And now I come back and go, let me refocus myself. How do I do that? Now I can go back and look at the checklist. I can go back and look at the actual 1 through 5 within each one and say, okay, got it. Back on task of where I was and where I dropped off. I think that, because then what always happens, and I think we've all find this with procrastination, is you'll find another thing right down the rabbit hole. If you've ever written a paper and you've gone down the Wikipedia rabbit hole where you're like, ooh, I'm reading on something that I know I can't use anyways, but now I click on something else and I'm like, ooh, let me find out. Ooh. And life just happens like that. And so I think what, to your point, being able to just, one, if you don't do lists, start off with a simple one. 2, and start marking those off. Then migrate to this next level, which is what this really was about, which is like migrate to your next level where now you have a refocusing tool for yourself, that's how I use mine, right? Because there's, again, we could say all we want in a perfect world, but dude, we're all, I know we all have children here, multiple children here, and they, servant leaders as we are as a fathers, they take priority when they need to take priority. So
yeah. And, if you're listening to this and watching us, you're obviously someone that is getting after it and probably taking on a lot. And I think what we need to do is we tend to be overambitious with our time and try to take on so much. And we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace and give ourselves a little bit of buffer. Having that buffer time, that's something I learned from the 12-week year, that putting those buffer times in there has been a game changer for me. Yep. And it keeps me from I still tend to do it, but I'm far better at it than I used to be.
Yeah, for sure. No, great topic, guys. And I'm excited to get rolling on this week here. So that said, like look for the sessions this week, reach out. This is an article out on the website. We'll probably have a lecture on it in the library as well. So please check it out and check out the other things we have going on. Reach out and let us know if we can help you in any way, shape, or form. If you're a business owner, organizational leader, or just trying to get better, that's what we are. We're a growth agency for leaders. So check the article online, check out the website, follow us on all the different socials. And gents, thanks for being here today. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good. See you.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it.